Alright, 99 Ford Explorer, 4-liter engine, single overhead cam. Going to change an alternator. Okay, tools you're going to need on hand. A long extension, 3/8 drive, a 3/8 drive breaker bar to loosen your tensioner pulley. I have a 1/4-inch drive ratchet with a 5/16 and a 10mm 5/16 for your engine cover bolts, and a 10mm for the charging stud on the alternator, and a 1/2-inch box wrench, and a 1/2-inch deep weld socket for the main alternator bolts. And that ought to take care of the job for you. One other thing I'd like to recommend before you go and start it, once you have your new alternator in, if your battery died along the side of the road when this happened, it means your battery is probably pretty much stone dead. Anytime you put a brand new alternator in there, especially on a Ford, they have internal voltage regulators on the alternator. And if you try to charge a stone dead battery just from your alternator, you're going to overheat it, run a chance of damaging it. So during the course of this job, take your battery out. You need to take it out anyway. Throw it on a trickle charger or a maintainer just to bring it back up into a normal range, so that way when you go to fire it up, you're not putting a heavy strain on the alternator that you just put in. First thing you're going to have to do, take off the engine cover, 4 5/16 nuts that hold it on, and then you're going to take off your intake tube, undo your hose clamps, 2 of them. The alternator's pretty easy to get to on this one, it's right on the top. Got to take off your vacuum lines. And we have access to the alternator. The first thing you're going to have to do is get the serpentine belt off, and to do that, use a breaker bar. It's nice to have a longer one so you can do it from up here, but all it is a 3/8 drive, and you put that, there's a hole for it on the tensioner pulley. Goes in like so, and you'll want to push it towards the passenger side of the truck, towards the floor, and it'll release the tension on the belt enough so you can slide it off the top pulley, off the alternator. And watch where your hands are, because it will spring back. It's got quite a bit of tension on it. You don't want to crush your wrists or anything in there, lose any skin off the old knuckle. Once the belt's off, we're free to go ahead and take off this alternator. We're going to go ahead and take off the charging lead. It's just a 10mm nut on top. You don't need a wrench to take it off. You don't want to drop it. Put it somewhere where you're not going to lose it. This comes off. This one is. And then you can go ahead and unplug your sensor wires. Okay, now it's just the main bolts. Alright, the 2 on the bottom are a 1/2 inch. Once you get them loose, go ahead and turn them out. Leave the top for last so it's easiest to get to. another 1/2 inch at the top. I use a deep well on that, or you could use a box wrench. Okay, and she should lift out of there. Simple as that. And there's the creature. This one looks almost brand new. There we have our brand new one, well, remanufactured. It ran $150 with a $30 core on it. It has a lifetime warranty. Now, I matched them up at the parts store when I turned the core in. But when you get home, you take a look at it. The only thing you want to make sure is that the sensor plugs on the back match up to the plug that you have on the car. You don't want to get the whole thing in and then realize you got a plug that don't fit and you got to go back to the parts store. So we're just going to set her back in there the same way she came out. We'll get it in there straight, and we'll put the first bolt in on the top to hold it still. Now for the top bolt, you have to put on the mount first for the charging wire, and then the bolt goes over top. Now, we didn't put the top one in as tight as we had to, so we could get these two in. We'll go ahead and turn them in. The easiest way to get to them is off on an angle here. This is the front one. Turn that in by hand, get it started. Now for the back one, pull the radiator hose forward. We can get in there like that. Now you want to make them pretty tight, since they don't have any washers or lock washers or anything on them. You don't want them coming back out. Alright. We'll go ahead and plug in our sensor plug. Make sure it fits in there and clips. We'll put on our charging lead. The new one came with a new nut for the top. $10mm. You want to make that pretty tight, but you don't want to break the stud off inside the alternator. then it's a trip back to the parts store. Slide the little rubber boot back down. Okay, now we can start reassembling things we took apart with the belt. But while you have it apart and the belt is off, it's a good opportunity to check the condition of it. Look for dry rot and cracking. This one looks to be almost brand new, so we're just going to use the same one and put that right back on. And if it should happen to slip off all the pulleys while you're working in there and you lose track of where it goes and you're not sure how to put it back on the radiator support, they have a diagram for you to look at so you can see exactly the routing for it, and should make it pretty easy for you to put it back on. Make sure it's on all the pulleys correctly before you put the tensioner back to pull the belt up. And as I told you before, when you took it off, be mindful of where your fingers are. In case the wrench should slip out of the tensioner and the wrench flies back, you don't want to smash your fingers anywhere. There's a lot of tension on this. Make sure your finger isn't underneath the belt between the pulley. Just use common sense when you do this. And on she goes. I'll put our intake tube back on, hook up our vacuum lines. The hose from the left valve cover, that one will go towards the front of your intake tube once you put it on here. Like so. And we'll hook this one up. We'll make sure they fit tight, and the hard plastic line goes towards the air cleaner. And we can shove this down here. Like so. Tighten her up. And then the little clip for the mass airflow sensor hooks onto your intake tube as well. The top plate cover. Our cruise control cable in there. And the 4 5/16 screws that hold that down.